According to the Autism Society in Baltimore, Maryland, autism is defined as a complex developmental disability that typically appears during the first 3 years of life and is the result of a neurological disorder that affects the normal functioning of the brain. Autism spectrum disorders may be difficult to understand. There is not one single gene that leads to autism, which is usually the case with Down syndrome. Some research also shows that environmental toxins, such as mercury, may be to blame for the rise in autism spectrum disorders. The symptoms of autism may also be confusing. Most symptoms are not detected until after the age of 1. A baby that does not babble or do any hand gestures by the age of 1 may have an autism spectrum disorder. This is why it is so important to understand the social interactions that are common with those with autism. This next video was taken from YouTube and shows the many faces of autism.
My name is Catherine Muir. I have Asperger's syndrome.
Me llamo Catherine Muir.
Ich heiße Catherine Muir.
Y tengo el autismo.
Und ich habe Autismus.
Et j'ai l'autisme.
Autism doesn't really change the person, just slightly the way they think.
I'm currently a college student majoring in photography, but when I transfer to the University of Tennessee, which I have been accepted to this fall, I will be majoring in humanities and photography.
It also cuts into the communication and makes it hard for them to communicate with some people, such as I.
We have a real hard time reading social cues. We have a real hard time looking people in the eye. I always look at the bridge of the nose.
It gets in the way of my thoughts, it gets in the way of learning, it gets in the way of having friends, and it gets in the way of having fun.
One of the good things about it, that you think in a different way than other people. And being different's okay.
The positive thing about living with autism is the unique perspective I have and use in my nature photography. I am often told I see what others miss.
The honesty that can come from someone on the spectrum can be quite beautiful.
Autism affects my reading, writing, and sometimes it's hard for me to start off or continue on a conversation with others. But if there's an activity that catches my interest, such as sports, music, video games, etc., I stay focused. Sometimes I learn certain skills faster than others.
For me, it tells me that I learn a certain way. On my free time, I go out and I DJ at raves and parties, and you would never expect anybody with Asperger's syndrome to say that.
I tell others about autism, and I give demonstrations at my school. I tell governors, senators, and even presidential candidates. And one day, hopefully, I'll get to tell the president about autism. And right now, I am telling all of you.
Autism cannot and will not stop me.
Don't judge me before you know me.
A great deal of this talk will focus on the research of Dr. Amy Klin. Dr. Amy Klin is a professor of child psychology and psychiatry at Yale University. He is also the director of the Autism program at Yale. Dr. Klin has published over 150 research articles in the field of autism and other related conditions. It was a crisp Tuesday morning when Danny, age 14, walked into Dr. Klin's office at the Yale Child Study Center in New Haven, Connecticut. Danny is one of 15 young men taking part in this behavioral experiment. All 15 men have normal brain functioning, but struggle when it comes to social performance. All participants met the criteria for possessing autism. Danny sat waiting in the office, unsure of what kind of tests were to come his way. Danny was the first participant to perform the experiment. He walked into a room and sat in a comfortable armchair. A 20-inch monitor was placed about 2.5 feet in front of him. The lights in the room were dim, so his main focus was on the television screen. Dr. Klin placed a baseball cap on Danny's head. On the bill of the baseball cap was a tiny video camera that recorded the precise movement of Danny's eyes as well as what was happening in front of him. The 1967 film Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf played on the screen. The film contained 4 characters interacting in a complex social situation. Danny was shown 5 clips ranging in length from 30 to 60 seconds each. After a short amount of time, Danny was done with his part in the experiment. It was now up to the researchers to analyze the film. The researchers were interested in finding out where Danny's eye focus was while watching the intense social interactions that were going on in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. According to Dr. Klin, a designation of 0 was assigned when the participant focused on the mouth region of the face, a 1 was recorded when he focused on the eye region of the face, 2 was given when he focused on the body, and a 3 was recorded when he focused on an object. 2 researchers analyzed each frame of film for each participant to ensure that a minimal amount of errors were made. Before the experiment began, the researchers inferred that the autistic participants like Danny would favor looking at an individual's mouth region instead of looking at the eye region. They also suspected that the participants would not look at the other objects as much as they would look at the mouth region of the person interacting on camera. The researchers believe that less fixation time on the eye region would lead to a greater amount of social understanding. This graph shows the main results of the research. As the results show, the autistic participants focused 2 times more on the mouth and other objects and 2 times less on the eye region. The autistic participants' results are shown in green on the graph. The researchers were wrong, however, when they assumed that fixation time on the eyes would result in a greater amount of social disability. In reality, when the autistic participants like Danny focused more on the mouth and other objects, their social understanding increased. Looking at a person in the eyes did not help them understand their social surroundings. In contrast, the control group, or those without autism, and shown in yellow on the graph, showed a greater amount of social understanding when focusing on the eyes and less when focusing on the mouth and other objects. Based on these results, we should ask ourselves, what is it about an autistic brain that makes it easier to understand social situations when looking in the mouth region or at other objects instead of the eye region? These next few slides will talk about the brain regions involved in autism. The fusiform gyrus is a region in the brain that specializes in facial recognition in a normal functioning brain. It is located in the temporal lobe. An abnormality in the fusiform gyrus is a major reason why autistic patients struggle in social interactions. MRIs show how an autistic brain has a less active fusiform gyrus. A person with a normal functioning fusiform gyrus is very good at deciphering faces by looking at the eyes. On the other hand, those with autism can decode faces better by looking at the mouth. The cerebellum is a protrusion from the brainstem that looks like a cauliflower. In a typical brain, the cerebellum has many functions. It is mostly known for smoothing and coordinating movements of the body. The cerebellum is also known to play a role in attention, language, and the coordination of cognitive functions. In autistic individuals, the cerebellum does not completely develop. Research has shown that an undeveloped cerebellum does in fact result in social deficits. The prevalence of autism spectrum disorders has been increasing in recent years. In fact, 1 out of every 88 births is a child born with autism. Autism is more commonly found in boys and seen in about 1 of every 54 births. The lifetime cost of an autism spectrum disorder over an individual's life is $3.2 billion. Only 55% of students with autism will graduate from high school. It is necessary to understand autism in order to help better the quality of life of those dealing with the disorder.